Can you hear us okay?
Hey, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, we can.
be loud and clear.
Per
Awesome.
Perfect.
I think we've got a good amount of people starting to stream in now. Super looking forward to this. So, as a start, can you guys go ahead and just introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Altcoin Sherpa. I am a core contributor to Nexa. I'll be doing and some business development as well.
Nice.
I can go next. I am Esa, and I am also the core contributor to Nexa and responsible for the tech side.
And I'm Dev. I'm a core contributor to Wormhole, part of the team that wrote some of the code that we'll be talking about today.
Perfect. I can't wait to talk to you guys more. I'm Josh. I do community management at OneMore. Today, the topic is basically the future of token sales. You might have seen Nexa slightly teasing over the last few weeks about what they're about. We're going to be doing a bit of a dive into that. And first, I think a good place to sort of ground ourselves would be what do traditional token sales look like? I think there's not many more people who are more experienced than Altcoin Sherpa to speak about that. So we'll start with you.
Yeah. So traditional token sales right now, you have a few options. You can go through IDO platforms. And the current model is that it's a very centralized process in the sense that users generally send their collateral to the IDO platform, and the IDO platform will have custody of the tokens for whatever project that they are launching or that the users are interested in. And then the IDO platform will handle that distribution. Currently, as it stands, these IDO platforms, although they are multi-chain in the sense that there might be a project that launches on Polygon, there might be a project that launches on Avalanche. These are not really multi-chain projects in the sense that the projects will launch on multiple chains simultaneously from the very start. And Nexa is looking to kind of add to that space and develop a new model in that regard.
Yeah, amazing. I think, as you said, they're not really cross-chain at the moment. They sort of might launch on a few different chains, but it will be completely separate almost. So what are the problems? Is there any other problems with just a traditional token sale model?
Well, I think that users generally like to stay within their own community, and that's not always the truth, of course. But generally speaking, users will have one or two chains that they typically like to transact on. And one nice thing that's really cool about Nexa is that we'll be able to take different types of collateral depending on the chain. So meaning a project can launch on both BNB, Binance Smart Chain, as well as Avalanche, and users of each of those respective chains can contribute their collateral and then receive tokens on each respective chain. No longer does, we all know what the issue of creating a new wallet, bridging funds, adding, the native token gas fee for all of these cool projects. But I believe that, with the future being multi-chain, I think that many more projects will want to launch multi-chain from the very start. And I think that Nexa is really going to help with regards to that.
Yeah, there's quite almost like a barrier to entry, isn't there, for new users? If you want to interact with an IDO or IEO that's going on and another chain that you haven't got your tokens on, you then have to go through that whole process of setting up a wallet. How do I get my native tokens on there? And yeah, so how is Nexa solving the problem?
Well, as I said before, Nexa will be able to we'll be able to let users of different chains contribute different collateral, and we can go a little bit more into this later, or maybe Asa can talk about it. But maybe eventually we can also have users contribute different types of collateral for each token, and of course this benefits the project quite a bit as well. For instance, projects will have access to, liquidity from multiple chains. They'll have access to different communities from day one. token utility on multiple chains. The possibilities are just endless in that regard.
Yeah, they really are. And is Nexa the first to do this?
Yes, as far as I understand it, Nexa will be the first to have these simultaneous multi-chain launches from the very inception. As I said, there are other IDO platforms that, will have one project on Polygon, one project on Ethereum, and what have you. But these aren't going to be simultaneous token launches. They just might. These projects, in other words, are just siloed onto one chain from the very start. So I believe that Nexa is the first to have this multi-chain aspect for token launches.
Yeah, I'm sure like everyone else on the space has witnessed these token sales. They can get pretty hectic. So imagine one where it's simultaneous. I think there'd be so much hype for something like that. It'd be really cool to see. And in that sense, do you think it will create a new meta for token launches?
I do. I believe it will, in the sense that projects in general will want to be more multi-chain from the start. As I said, the benefits of accessing more liquidity, more users from the very inception is, I think, going to be very beneficial. And I think that more and more projects will want to experience that and go forward with that if it's possible within their own project.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I'd love to hear sort of Asad as well on this side. Is so beginning to end, how does Nexa work for a token sale? What do I as the user, and also maybe I as the project owner or project founder, have to do for Nexa?
Yeah. So basically, I think as Sherpa pointed out, a few things related to how the current IDO space and the launchpad work. We know that most of those projects or most of those launchpads, what they actually do is that they kind of escrow the assets. They hold the custody of the tokens that is going to launch. Then they initiate some sort of on-chain, off-chain process where people end up contributing. And once the contribution is done and the sale is concluded, then they just hand over the tokens either to some sort of a vesting contract or an immediate unlock. The way Nexa is designed, I think it's much more decentralized as compared to these launchpads that we have, in a way where the projects would actually be able to come in on our platform, and then they will be able to create the sale themselves. During the sale process, when they create the sales, they can specify the details. Let's say the token prices, the vesting schedules, number of tokens, market caps, and so on and so forth. And this kind of information would actually be stored in a smart contract along with the tokens that are to be sold. At no point in this process we actually hold the tokens ourselves, so we will not be the custodian in any way. It's actually the contracts itself that is going to take care of that part as well. And when the users, the end users, they start contributing to those projects, they can just contribute. You can say with their own favorite chains on their own favorite using their own favorite wallets, and potentially any asset that is available out there. So they can contribute to the stable using the stables. They can contribute using, let's say, Ethereum on Ethereum chain, perhaps with Sol on Solana, and maybe any other token as well. And after the sales period ends, there's going to be decentralized contracts that's going to do this kind of an exchange where the tokens will be claimable for the end users based on whatever the vesting schedule or whatever the unlock parameter defined by the projects. And at the same time, all the contributions from all these chains, let's say on AVAX, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, would actually be aggregated, and it would automatically go back to the project founders. So at no point in this process, Nexa is going to play any important role as a centralized authority. It's going to be pretty much decentralized.
That's amazing to hear that, like, right from the beginning, it's going to be a completely decentralized protocol. I know, it's something we're moving towards, and lots of protocols start being sort of quasi-centralized. That's always a great thing to have, obviously. And you mentioned that there's potential for any token to be able to be used.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of can projects choose what token they would accept, or?
Yeah. So when the sale is actually created, the projects can specify, for example, out of all the supported chains that we have, which chains do they want to launch their project on, and on which chains do they want to accept the tokens, and what kind of tokens do they want to accept. They can choose to go with all stables for that matter, or they can choose to go with to accept any tokens of their choice. In the initial phases, we are going to go ahead only with only allow the stable assets to be accepted. But later on, we have this vision where we want to enable all of these assets, and at the same time, because the complexities around it, we may have to look for integrate some sort of an article for the price conversions, just to make sure that any transaction is as how the project founders actually expected it to be. So with those kind of implementations, which is pretty soon to roll out after the initial phases, we do intend that it would be completely up to the project founders to decide which tokens do they want to accept on which chains.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think so. Maybe in the future there could be a grand meme token mint where you can use all these different meme tokens from different chains to for one big token sale.
Yeah, indeed.
So what is going on under the bonnet? And I'd love to bring in Dev from our side as well. But first, Asa, what's going on under the bonnet?
So basically it is if you've gone through the website, it is the XMint technology that actually and everything under the XMint technology is basically Wormhole. In simple words, XMint is a technology that enables the projects to launch their utility tokens on multiple chains at the same time. And the way it works is that when a sale is conducted on our platform for a specific token, that token is minted by the platform on all of the supported chains where the project is to be supported as well. As we just discussed, that founders can choose which chains do they want to launch their project on. Once that process is done, it then initiates a sales process on all of these chains simultaneously, as described by Sherpa a while back as well, where users can contribute using their favorite wallets on any of these chains. At a technical level, it is actually achieved by utilizing the generic message exchange protocol developed by Wormhole, and we would love to hear more from Dev on that as well. But it's such that the messages containing the token information as payload, either it's related to the mint or the transfer of the tokens, is emitted by one chain, which is then observed and signed by the set of Wormhole guardians. Once a consensus is reached and 2/3 of the guardians verify this event, the message is actually posted to the target chain, which can reliably extract the information from this payload and can respond to it. So Dev can perhaps go a little bit more into details about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You covered a lot of the basic stuff, but I want to cover a little bit of the philosophy of the XMint technology. One of the really cool parts about the XMint technology is that it makes use of the Wormhole's hub and spoke model. And what that means is you generally have a core chain that you want to launch on. That's where your conductor lives, right? So whether it's your token sale or any other kind of application you want to build, you have a core chain that you want to launch on, and then you have the spokes. All the other chains have kind of this a spoke where you launch a light client that can take in messages, whether that is collateral contribution or anything else, and send that back to the hub. And what's really cool is with the same kind of philosophy that XMint is powered by, you could do cross-chain governance. You could do a bunch of different types of tooling and products based around the same kind of hub and spoke model. So XMint we're hoping for is just one of the many things that people look at and build. It's one of the first reference implementations of this hub and spoke model technology, but with the same kind of philosophy, the same kind of tech stack, you can get and build a lot of really cool products.
On that, have we seen anyone do anything similar to what the Nexa team doing, or is this just like this groundbreaking at this point?
This is the groundbreaking stuff right now. Kudos to the Nexa team for like really pushing the boundaries of what you can do with Wormhole, especially using a lot of the different types of payloads that we have, whether that's Wormhole core layer messaging or Portal Bridge token transfers, and just using the mix of all of those technologies. So it's really exciting to see teams like Nexa come in and use a lot of those interesting pieces of technology. Usually when a team comes and integrates with Wormhole, they either use, one of the technologies or two of the technologies, and Nexa team is kind of using all of them, the full breadth of what's possible with Wormhole to make all of these things possible. And so we're hoping to see more and more people come in and take a look at what Nexa has done, and actually, take that as a role model and build more interesting technology.
Yeah, I think Altcoin Sherpa sort of alluded to it earlier that this is something that's going to be groundbreaking in the sense it's going to maybe change the meta of token sales. And I think every time I come on these Twitter spaces, there's just something that breaks my mind as to how people are taking Wormhole in the next direction. And like Nexa is just crazy when you think about all the potential that it has. What, as a user, what chains are going to be available? Will it be the Wormhole chains? How will I know what chains I can use?
Well, actually, the vision is to ultimately support all the chains on Nexa that are supported by Wormhole. We also plan to continue to add more and more chains as they become available. But at this point, when we are going to launch, hopefully over the next couple of months, we intend to support the 6 chains, Ethereum, BNB chain, AVAX, Phantom, Polygon, and of course, Solana. So these are the chains that we're going to go ahead and support in the first release. Regarding how the process could be, I just let Sherpa answer that for how it would be from the user point of view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so from a user perspective, Nexa, we plan to have for many of our endorsed launches, we will have a randomized and fair democratic process for all the users. Users will have to KYC on our platform, and we won't have any custody of that information. We're using a third-party service. As I said, it will be a randomized and fair process, and Nexa won't plan on having any token anytime soon. So it's a very low barrier to entry. All users have to do is just KYC and then apply for the sale. And, if they are selected in the sale through our randomized process, then they will be able to contribute and, go ahead and go forward with the sale. So as I said, it's going to be a very fair and clean process for our users, which we're really excited about.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because I think a lot of, again, going back to like just traditional token sales, there are some that sort of the barrier to entry is just too high for these new users. They have to have a crazy amount invested in a token to even touch some of these token sales. And that can be quite annoying. But by the sounds of it, this is going to be a very fair process. So I'd love to hear that. I'm just going back to sort of Xmint a little bit before we move on to sort of some of the more soft side of this and what can sort of happen as a result of cross-chain token sales. What does Xmint make possible that wasn't before? And how does Wormhole actually power this though? I know you spoke briefly about it earlier. Is there anything else that you could talk about?
Yeah, I think it's all about the multi-chain, cross-chain narrative. In the past couple of years, we saw tremendous growth and the rise of several layer 1, layer 2 infrastructure platforms, solutions, and applications. The overall landscape is quite innovative and competitive at the same time. While this kind of competition ultimately benefits the end user and also the projects, I think that the Web3 narrative for most of the founders and builders has always been about collaboration and not competition. this kind of collaboration benefits the projects. It benefits the end users, definitely. And a multi-chain approach to the design is something that I find is that it's really important. It's at the core of all this narrative. By combining the strengths of different chains, for example, projects can offset limitations of one chain with the strength of another one. And creating in this process, creating some sort of a multi-chain approach that maximizes the user experience, offers a lot bigger user base, and access to the increased liquidity, as Shilpa pointed out as well. The multi-chain ecosystem makes it possible for anyone to build anywhere on any chain, whatever they choose. Most blockchain applications and solutions, as we see today, they are kind of living in silos in their own blockchain. And we have seen a lot of barriers and obstacles when the information is required to flow, let's say, from one chain to another. I think one of the other things that we should observe is, and we have observed actually, is that the most of these cross-chain or multi-chain projects, they are not started as a true cross-chain or multi-chain projects. It came as an afterthought where, just growing into one ecosystem, projects do realize that they need to access more liquidity perhaps, or grow their user base. It comes as an afterthought strategy where they just take that and have developed out another one, another blockchain. I think it is imperative that we develop a multi-chain ecosystem if we are to achieve a frictionless experience for the end users, as we've been talking about, maintaining different wallets, participating in different kinds of sales processes on different chains. So I think at the end, it's by combining different blockchains, cross-chain solutions will be able to create a greater whole than the sum of their parts. With Xmint and XTS, that is exactly the problem that we are trying to solve. We are enabling the founders to build the cross-chain mechanism as a core part of their initial launch strategy, rather than the afterthought that we have seen in the past as well. And at the same time, enabling the end users to not go through the complex processes of maintaining different wallets, bridging the assets from one to another, and be able to participate in a project that is launched on another chain. So I think that that is exactly something. Maybe there are some crude implementations that there have been in the past as well, but Xmint is definitely a new and a fresh perspective to how the projects that we believe will be more and more cross-chain and multi-chain in future can actually solve this problem from the day one. From the get-go, they get access to the liquidity on all of these chains, and they kind of launch in a very chain agnostic manner. So yeah, that's how I see.
One thing that I would love to add to that is one of the really big pieces that Xmint really makes possible that wasn't possible before is kind of the core of why Wormhole was built. User experience, user experience, user experience. One of the things that I talk about when I give talks about why I get excited about Wormhole is if, like, for example, if I'm setting up, a mortgage application, I'm sitting and filling out a mortgage application, I'm trying to connect my bank account, but my bank account is deployed on Azure and my mortgage application is deployed on GCP, Google Cloud Engine. And suddenly those two can't talk. As an end user, I'm having a bad time, right? And as an end user, that question, why can't they talk, should never be brought up in Web 2. And yet that is the case in Web 3. If I have an Ethereum wallet and I want to buy Solana tokens, or if I have a Sol wallet and I'm trying to buy tokens on Ethereum, that doesn't work because of the different infrastructure that the developers have chosen. And so one of the really cool things with Xmint is that it's showing a class of new technologies that from day one, as Asa said, from day one, they're built to be user friendly and you can go from whatever wallet system that you have, whatever tokens that you already have, and participate in the greater economy.
Yeah, it's breaking down those barriers, and also bringing in, I guess, a greater sense of community. There is no sort of not those siloed blockchains in a true cross-chain future. It's you sort of choose where you enjoy, but at least the chains can sort of speak to each other, and there's not that sort of hard barrier where they can't. As a community person, Sherpa, I'd love to get your point of view on how does this take community to the next level?
Well, as the guys have already said, users really generally like to transact in one community. They might like people are used to what they're used to, meaning they're used to transacting on one chain. They interact with the other communities within that chain. People will like to do a lot of different stuff on that chain. For me personally, I like to transact on Ethereum and Solana. I'll buy NFTs on both chains. I'll interact with the DEXs on both chains. I'll LP on those respective chains, as well as Avalanche. And, I've used all the different chains as well. So I think that in that regard, in terms of reaching these different communities, people are just kind of used to whatever community that they generally transact on the most. And I think that Nexa and Xmint will really be able to help reach a lot of these different communities who might be interested in some of these different projects, but don't necessarily want to, as I said, go through the process of moving money and gas and everything else to a Phantom wallet, for instance, or a Polygon wallet. They might be able to just go ahead and contribute and receive their tokens on the community that they best prefer.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's got their sort of preferred chains that they sort of stick to. Mine, for example, I started out on BNB, which is a bit like the Wild West, and then moved my way to Solana. But it'll be very interesting to see how they can sort of interact with each other, and cross-chain token sales through Nexa sort of would take that in a whole new direction, I'm sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think that it is the complexities that we have. They are bridging the assets from one chain to another and be able to participate. That is in a sale like that is kind of a very complex experience for a normal user. And that is where the Xmint also comes in, and the platforms, as Dev mentioned as well, that it is more about the user experience, hiding away all those complexities from the end users, so they get kind of a unified experience regardless of whatever chain they are working on. So that is also one of the value propositions that we want to incorporate in our platform.
Yeah, definitely. And why is this a win for founders of projects as well, being able to conduct a cross-chain token sale? For example, like liquidity, what do they get from this?
Founders really just projects in general will really, as you said, they'll access all this liquidity, they'll access all the users, they'll access all this activity in general from all these different communities. You just get access to so many more users at the end of the day. It's just like a whole win, for all those different factors.
Yeah, we've been sort of like the teasers have been coming out about what's next. Or Nexa is next. That is the case by the sounds of it. So thanks everyone for listening. We've now got the sort of open Q&A section of this Twitter space. So if you have any questions, please raise your hands now, and the others will be able to answer you. Until then, until we get our sort of first hands up, is there anything else that you guys would like to talk about?
Nothing on my end personally. Asa, did you have?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything at a high level. So looking forward to the questions from the community.
Yeah, it looks like don't be shy, guys. Everyone in the crowd, if you have any questions, I'm sure there's loads. Then please raise your hands. And if not, then I think we will make an end to the space. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you to Sherpa, Asa, and Deb for joining me. I think we've had some really good conversations here.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time.
Thank you,
guys.
Cheers.
Before we go quickly, how do users find more about Nexa?
They can go onto our website, which is nexa.network.
Correct.
And our Twitter is also Nexa. It's at Nexa_network. Those are the two best ways that you guys can learn more about Nexa. We'll be having a lot more information coming out within the next few weeks. And yeah, really looking forward to it, guys.
Thanks. You heard the man. Go check out Nexa. Come check out Wormhole. Join the communities. We'd love to have you. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Speak soon.
One last thing, sorry. Projects can also apply on our website as well, which is the nexa.network website. If you are interested in launching a project on the Nexa, please do check out our application form on our website.
Great to hear. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.